like us. How you walking with a lion got me feeling like Micah. I've been known to wear the team on my back like a biker. Shorty won't be with a star, but you lucky if I invite you. We can take it to the next spot. They yelling like Prescott. Everybody like, there ain't no breaks, no rest stop. We trying to get your head chopped. The whole club yelling. Everybody.
Here we go. Here we go. 50 Formation Podcast. I'm Prescott. This your boy Eddie. Man, this screen just started doing something. Said we're doing a live recording. I'm like a live thing. I'm like, I know I didn't push that setting, but yeah, we're good now. It kind of shocked me. I've never seen that before.
You want to start over? What do you want to do?
No, we're good. We're good, man. Just shocked me.
I love it. Hey, this is what happens when you do this live, right?
Yeah, man.
Welcome everybody. We missed you guys. It's been a long,
whole
week without this football, but we got some news.
Oh my God, no!
A little bit of things here and there, and we also got to talk about this March Madness craziness that Troy and I have in our league.
Our league is ridiculous. Like, and we can't even call them gurus picking college basketball. He didn't even pick it. His kids picked it.
His kids picked it.
And then he submitted it. And he's in first place. Like, he's not just in first place. He's like in the top 3% of the world.
He's in the 99th percentile. I think he was top like 300,000. I mean, there's like millions.
It's insane.
And I'm right behind him. I think I was like 90.
Yeah, you're at 97.4
or something like that.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. You're 97.4, and you're only 10 points behind him. But he's in the 99th percentile. He's if you do him by place, he's in the 264,000, which seems like a lot, but it's not when you consider it's
compared
probably
to
100 million brackets out there.
So many. So this is what I did with these. Check it out. This is what my strategy this year. I did 3 of them. One of them I filled out with all my 12-5 bracket busters. Right, I did a whole crazy one like that.
Yeah, I did one like that too.
Then I did one with my favorites. Like, I want this team to win. I want this team. I want to root for this team, like the Carolinas and the Lobos. And then the third one, I picked all the favorites. All I did was favorites. What I did. And that's the one that's fucking 97% is the favorites. All I did was pick the higher seed. The only thing that's killing me was Arkansas, and Arkansas killed me.
Man, they said that they said that because of NIL money, that was because recently in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of upsets, a lot. Even like 3-4 years ago, there was a ton of upsets. That was because those smaller schools, their big thing was, you get a lot of playing time, you'll get this. But now that millions of dollars are involved, these good players are going to the good schools because now they can get the $5 million NIL deal. And they said because of that, it kind of skewed it now to where the big schools are getting the good players. And so that's why it's kind of like chalk, where all 4 number ones made it.
But also, you don't have a whole team of blue chippers. Those blue chippers are spread out over the big
now,
schools.
Yeah.
Because they want the bigger piece of the pie on the NIL.
Yeah, they do. Because if you're thinking, oh man, I want to get some money, and Cooper Flag is at Duke, you're like, man, I'm going to Auburn then because it's only a certain amount of money you can get in NIL.
Yeah, it's like what Julian Love, right? That guy from Carolina that went to Arizona. I mean, he was a big fish in a big pond in Carolina, but then he went to Arizona and he was the man.
Now he's the stud, yeah.
So stuff like that.
I'm like, man, 99 percentile, and he didn't even pick any of them. His kids probably picked from colors and like, let's pick this. And
I said, you better take your kids to Vegas, man. What are you doing with them?
That's insane. Like, I've never known. I've always seen those where I'm like, man, who are these people in the 99 percentile? But now I actually know one in real life. It's crazy.
We joke around, right? We're thinking that the kids are just like, blah blah blah. Watch, we go and we know that his kids are actually doing research. They got their iPads.
Yeah, man.
They're really doing.
One of his kids are going to MIT. The other one's going to Harvard.
Exactly. We're just laughing it up.
These kids are nerds. But man,
right, so
that's crazy. But anyway,
let's get back to
the Cowboys
back to
news.
football here. So it wasn't a huge week of news. I don't know how much you read and heard. I mean, there was some things here and there, but I think there was one thing that you wanted to talk about that you brought up earlier.
I say the main thing is just the Micah Parsons, how close we are to his deal. I don't like following Fish, but he had an interesting tweet about how he like highlighted the steps, like this day they did this day they did this, and based off what his progression, he said it's almost imminent that he's doing it. But the controversy in this whole thing was how Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones, like, yeah, we don't need agents. I don't even know his name, which he knows his name. He's the most powerful agent in the league. He just, Jerry just talking noise, and then Micah Parsons got on there. It's like, oh, my agent's name is this, and I don't do anything without my agent. One of those things. Big to do about nothing.
Think of it. Look at that. Like the way that you worded that, I get it. Like I'd be upset if that was like the actual truth, but the way that it actually was worded was Jerry said, Micah Parsons is not, his contract is not the most important thing right this second. The draft's coming up. We're going to sign him.
Yeah.
He said, this doesn't, his negotiations don't have anything to do with his agent, is what the verbiage was on that quote. And what happened was the media took half the quote,
took it out of context,
the back half of what he said, and said the it's not about the agent. So, but what he was saying was that the negotiations haven't stopped because of the agent. It's just that everything's been presented to Micah, and now it's his turn to kind of think about things. So when Jerry didn't say that agents aren't important, I think that everybody's up like, oh my God, I can't believe Jerry did this. That was the whole clickbait thing on this today.
Yep.
Micah's going to be signed. They're just, I think that, I mean, you are right. Like his agent is one of the biggest guys. So that's why it was funny that when Micah said, like when Jerry said, I don't even know his name. Bullshit, Jerry. You know exactly. You liar, dude. But yeah, that's
Jerry just can't. He just can't say stuff normally. He knows good and well. He's going to get the highest, especially since Myles Garrett signed. He's going to get the highest non-quarterback contract ever. That's a given. It doesn't matter if he signed today or May the 7th. He's going to get the same amount of money. Like they might finagle here and there, but because another thing that came up was they were talking about how they were like, oh, we offered this to Dak, and his agent went on there and was saying, we kicked back that contract they offered, and a lot of people were like, oh, I thought that Jerry took forever to make an offer when he really made this offer. And I was like, but if you read the article, he clearly said the thing that hung them up was they wanted 4 years, the team wanted 5 years. So the money didn't have anything to do with it. The money was the money. They wanted 4, they wanted 5. So that's where the hang up was, and that's what kept kicked it down the road to where it seemed like it took forever. So it's like, and anytime you have like that jostling and that that big dick swinging contest between the team and the agents, like, man, you got to know this. It's just business. Each side is trying to get as much money for their side as possible. They don't care how it looks or the optics.
And they're also trying to save face, right? Because it really is like Jerry saying, hey, this isn't about the agent. We're going to pay Micah his money because he earned it, not because the agent is negotiating it. And the agent is saying, or Micah's saying, oh, you know what, I deserve this money. I mean, the whole, it's all misconstrued.
It is.
Most of this stuff used to not be in the media, and it all used to just
you
be
never heard of
it.
Yeah, you just you just read the newspaper. Oh, Troy Aikman signed his contract today. You never heard the word about it before then. Every once in a while you did, like with the Emmett thing, but that was like those were few and far between. Now it's like every week is somebody else talking about their contract.
It was, and you don't even really know what to believe and what not to believe. I know that there was verbiage beforehand that was about Micah making sure that he was present for OTAs and things like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
That makes sense because the last couple of years he's been off doing his own thing. Not that saying that he wasn't working out, but he was just not. A leader needs to be there, right?
Yeah.
People are saying, well, if Mike is not even there, why am I going to go?
And I forgot who said it. Either Eberflus or Schottenheimer said he fully expected him to be there for OTAs.
Yeah, it was Eberflus that said that. Yeah. So that makes total sense as to why there's a little bit of drag there. There's probably verbiage that says, "Hey, you're not allowed to miss this much," and Mike is going to be like, "I'm an adult. You're not going to tell me that I can't do this and that." So there's going to be a little bit of pushback here and there. But I hardly think that there's going to be any issue with them signing that contract.
Plus, it's ego involved. If you're an agent, you like to be able, because they have to advertise to future clients. So you want to be able to say, "Hey, I got Micah Parsons, the richest non-quarterback contract in history. So you should sign with me."
That's what I was saying with the save the face thing, right? Because the agent's like, "Hey, just like what you're saying, I got Micah this deal," and Jerry's like, "Well, you didn't get shit." Micah got him.
We were going to give, regardless of the agent, I was going to give him this deal anyway. So it's not like
that's kind of how I'm taking it. But
agents make their money when they get B-list players. Like they're good when they get a B-list player a A contract or a C-list player a B contract. That's when the agent's good. When you're signing like a Myles Garrett, a Micah Parsons, or the best quarterback, a Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be the highest paid player when they sign the contract. So it's not like, or like how they do with the rookie contract. Like you already know rookies, they're slotted to make a certain amount of money. So like a lot of rookies don't even sign agents, and agents will say, "Hey, I'll handle your contract for free, and you don't even owe me a commission, but you have to guarantee that I handle your next contract because it's already slotted." It's kind of like that. You can't brag about something that's going to happen anyway.
Well, usually what used to happen before NIL deals is like those agents would swoop them up there that year they're going to be drafted and basically financially back them
loan them a few there, like $4 to $5 million bucks.
You and your family are living in this house that I own, and you guys are both driving my cars. You're going to sign with me when you're done, kind of thing.
And then they get a cut of the contract. Yeah, that usually happened a long time ago, but a lot of stuff has changed now with NIL. They can't do that anymore because they don't have any incentive to do it. Like I got my own money.
It's like, fuck your money. But they got them, negotiating NIL deals now. So
so they got agents negotiating those. So we'll see how it goes. So
it's just about
that's the biggest.
It really is just about saving face because Jerry's going to say what he's going to say because he's the most powerful guy, and that agent's going to be like, "Hey, I'm protecting my client," so it's all good. We'll figure it.
Yeah,
we'll get Micah signed. Don't worry, it'll happen soon.
The only way Micah doesn't get signed is if, God forbid, some kind of crazy injury where he can't play football ever again, or he gets caught with underage person in the hotel room. So something crazy would have to happen. So he's getting signed. So we don't have to worry about that. So we just had to figure out, which of the big names who haven't signed we're going to get. Like a Calais Campbell, he just fell off. So I think Asante Samuel and Keenan Allen, those are the two biggest names that haven't signed yet, who are linked to the Cowboys, who, a lot of people saying we should sign one of those. I would rather have Keenan Allen over Asante Samuel, but I wouldn't mind having either one of them. And either one of them shouldn't stop us from our draft plans. Like if Tet drops to 12, that shouldn't stop us if we already signed Keenan Allen. Let me put it that way.
So we've already talked about on this pod probably like 3 or 4 times what you just said. Like this is the free agency period. We were what was the statement? The aggressively selective aggressiveness.
Yeah, selective aggression.
So
whatever it was.
So it looks like they did, and actually, Shoddy had a quote. I don't know if you saw that little interview that
he was sitting at the table. I saw that.
So he actually gave some really good information saying that we're at a point. The guy that was interviewing him stopped the recording and said, "Look at Shoddy just gave us the draft, the key to this draft." And Shoddy said, we're in a position where we're able to draft best player available, and that's huge because when was the last time we were in that position to be able to do that? And it was really because we did our homework with free agency, and plus Steven and Shoddy both said we're just this week. They said that we're not done yet, which I don't know.
Some
what
people
that means.
ask, yeah.
Could mean
some people ask, what's the big deal about drafting the best player available? Now teams can't snipe us. Like for instance, the Michael Parsons draft. We needed a cornerback really, really bad, DB. And we had the 10th pick, and 8th and 9th pick were 2 cornerbacks. That was J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain Jr. And they knew that we wanted them, so that's why they went 8th and 9th, because they knew either one of those dropped to 10, we were going to get them. So then we ended up trading back with the Eagles, and we went to 12.
That's like this year, whoever wants Gianti is going to have to hop the Raiders because he's going to Vegas.
Yeah, he's going to the Raiders.
He's going to. I mean, that's. I keep seeing all these other things like Raiders are going to draft linemen, and they're not.
Yeah, we're hoping they're stupid, but you never know.
Yeah, and then if he gets past the Bears, I mean, it's just the
Bears are getting a running back as well.
If you want a running back, you got to hop in front of these guys, or you've done your scouting and you know what the 1C and the 1D running backs are in this draft, right? They're like, we already know all this. We've gone over this many, many times. But it's just it's refreshing to hear the head coach say, we're in a position right now to be able to select someone that's going to make our team overall better. We could draft a fucking defensive end that is an insane athlete instead of having to draft a tackle. Or another rumor that I saw today, which is really big actually. We all love Cooper Beebe, right? At center.
I saw that too. Yeah, I saw that.
And so they came out and said that they just sent the Cowboys to that Texas Pro Day to check out
for the center guy.
Cade, is it Cade Wilson? Somebody. It's the Longhorn.
But he's a center. Yeah,
and he's been a center for 3 years. Like he's really good at what he does. So what I've heard was that they're interchanging. They're thinking that moving Cooper Beebe to right guard, drafting a center,
and then this guy at center. Yeah, because Beebe wasn't a natural center; he was always a guard, and so they want to get a natural center.
I'm wondering if because Cooper Beebe's lineman coach, his lineman coach is like, hey, he was
he knows
a guard.
Yeah, he was he's better at this position. So,
and if we could draft a real center that isn't working on snaps and is actually that's just in the back of his mind. He's been doing that for years. Now he's focusing on his footwork or where he needs to be. Where Cooper Beebe was doing all of that and being successful. Could you imagine if he didn't have to do that? He might even
because for years we always did the drafting this guy and then putting him somewhere else. So we'll draft a left tackle, kind of like Tyler Smith. Now it ended up working out with him, where he was a left tackle, and then they moved him into guard. They did it with a lot of
tackles.
Right
tackle. They moved him to left tackle.
and then they moved him to left tackle. And then even Zach Martin, he played a lot of left tackle, and they moved him into guard, and then he ended up being a great guard. But they do that a lot with our team, on our teams in the past. And so I'm like, I wonder with this new coaching regime, will they just draft somebody at their position, play them at their position?
Yeah, the value with the Joneses and with Will is finding players that can play multiple positions and not just that position. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's
they've always been that way.
That way they don't have to go and find all that shit in the free agency. They
always call it player flex.
Yes, sir. So
with the new regime, the whole Schottenheimer, he gave a rundown of what he wants his offense to look like. He likes that player flex to where he wants players to be able to do different things. Not but for instance, if you're a wide receiver, you can play that on the outside, but you also got to come down and get right there next to the right tackle, right there next to the left tackle or the tight end. And you got to be able to block. You got to be able to run your passes out of that. And so that is the type of receiver that he's looking for.
Did you read why?
Yeah. Yeah, because he wants all the sets to look exactly alike, but a bunch of different stuff out of a set that looks alike. So you never know.
That's the biggest deal. Is like San Francisco, they're big on movement. So they'll line up in this, and you're like, oh shit, here comes a run, and then they move, and oh my god, they're in a passing set, and it's heavy on one side.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what the difference between that and our offense is, you don't have to move around a lot if you're using the same guys in the same spots, and they're disguised, right? Because the safety can't come up and be like, oh, his set is 2 yards outside of where he normally is, so it's going outside. They have to always line up in the same spot. So the receiver has to be able to get off of that, get into a route, or block in that same formation. And we don't have a lot of guys that have a lot of experience with that. CD moves around a lot, and we put him in positions so that we're affecting his coverage. But Tolbert,
and for those who don't know why this is a big deal, for those who don't know why this is a big deal, think back to when we had players like Lucky Whitehead. Anytime Lucky Whitehead came in, you knew it was going to be some kind of run, because he was a good running wide receiver. He was a good blocker wide receiver. So you knew he was not going to get a pass. Now, one time we were playing Green Bay, and Brett Favre was in the booth, and they did run a fake run, and then they threw it to him down the middle. And because he wasn't a good wide receiver, he still even got caught. It should have been a touchdown.
So even
Brett Favre was like, uh-oh. Yeah, and they tricked him because everybody came up with the run. And so
Lucky Whitehead.
He didn't get passes thrown to him. Yeah, and so with this thinking is, now when we have that in, they can't say, oh, this guy's in, so this is definitely a run play, or this guy's in, so this is definitely a pass play. So it's like that is the confusion that we give defenses.
That's going to be the biggest difference, is going to be the tight ends that line up. You can't bring in a tight end that's always a blocker.
Yeah,
you can't do it. You have to be able, if you line up in 11, then that other tight end has to be a threat for anything to be able to work. Yeah, same thing with receivers, right? Just like what you said, when last year, I think that you could probably count on your hands how many times you saw the Jalen's come in together. When you saw Jalen Tolbert and Jalen and the other Jalen, whatever his fucking last name is, you saw them come in, you're like, oh, the cornerbacks can just sit down. It's like, what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like that old baseball. It's like, everybody come in, easy out. I mean, so we can't have situations where the coach can see them coming in and be like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah. And you also have to know more than one or two routes. You can't just have a wide receiver where all he can run is a slant, or all he can run is a comeback. Because then those two routes I can sit on. He's not going to run a go. He's not going to run a square in. He's not going to run any of that because he can't run it. He only can run they bring him in to run these two routes, and that's it.
That's why I think, Jalen Tolbert, he's Noah Brown. He's the guy that is right there, but he's just not there yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he'll ever get there.
To me, he was best at when plays broke down. Like when plays broke down and they scrambled a little bit, that's when he became at his best. No. Tolbert. Like a lot of his touchdowns came off of broken plays, them running, to the side, and that's when he would make his best plays. Like every once in a while,
you remember how many touchdowns?
5 or 6.
What? No way.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah.
In his whole career, last year?
No. Last year.
Jalen Tolbert did not have 6 touchdowns last year. No friggin' way. I think he had like 1 touchdown.
I swear to you, man. Hold on. Let me look. I'm about to tell you.
We could both be totally wrong.
Jalen Tolbert, he had 7 touchdowns. He had 49 receptions. He had 49 receptions, 610 yards for 7. I'm telling you, I knew he had at least 5 or 6. I knew it was at least 5 or 6.
That's how much it didn't register with me at all that he was even on the field at those times. Because those
in December In December, he went off. He had 3 straight games with a touchdown. Once against Carolina, once against Tampa Bay, and once against Philly. He had 3 straight games with a touchdown.
So those were 2 games where we were coming back in the end that we didn't even have a chance to win.
Yeah, we won 2 of those. Carolina, we won. Tampa Bay, like that Tampa Bay game, he sucked, but he caught a touchdown. He only had 2 catches for 20 yards, but he did have a touchdown. His best game was against Washington, the last game of the year. He had 4 catches for 98 yards.
I promise you right now, Prescott, I promise you on live as we're speaking right now, I will sing a song on this quote if Jalen Tolbert is anything on our team next year, this coming season. If he's
I can see him being something.
For what?
I can see him being something. But you know what? You know who I think is going to take his spot?
Flournoy.
So hold on. Before we get to that, I was on Twitter and Aisha Morrison. You know who that is, right?
Aisha Morrison.
She's on the Girl Talk on the Dallas Cowboys podcast.
Yeah. Guarantee I don't listen to it.
Okay, so anyway, so she's on the Girl Talk one. She actually has good takes. I like her. But anyway, she had a tweet, so I'm not gonna steal this idea. Well, she had a tweet that said Junior Adams. Well, she asked, who do you think is going to have the best development under him this year? And she dropped Turpin, Tolbert, Flournoy, or Mingo. And so if you had to pick out of those 4, Turpin, Tolbert, Flournoy, or Mingo, who's going to have the biggest development this year under Junior Adams? I think I know you're going to say, but let me see if we're on the same wavelength.
If I do the way that my brain thinks is put that position player really in an NFL game. Turpin's not a receiver. Turpin is he's a gadget guy.
He's a weapon. He's a gadget guy.
Yeah, he's a weapon. He's a gadget guy. He's not a receiver that's going to go out there and run routes and catch balls like you want him to. So it's not going to be him. Jalen Tolbert is on his 3rd or 4th year. At the end of it, there's no upside for us to get him any better because all it's going to do is cost us money.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
if he blows up, we have to sign him next year.
We have to sign him next year. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to invest time and money in him anymore. It's already done. I think Flournoy, he's cut. This is his 2nd year. He was a rookie last year.
Yeah,
this is his step up. I think it's going to be Flournoy, in my opinion. Baby Dez, I'm thinking it's going to be him. What do you think?
I think that it's going to be Mingo. I think Mingo. I
also think Mingo too. I think did I say Mingo earlier? You're right.
Yes.
I think did I say Flournoy? Blah.
Yeah, you said Flournoy.
No,
because you call him Baby Dez, which they do call him Baby Dez. I think it's going to be Mingo only because his pedigree. He was a 2nd-round draft pick, and he was really good in college. Like he deserved a 2nd-round pick. It wasn't like they reached for him. He was supposed to be a 5th round or whatever. He deserved to be a 2nd-round pick. I don't think they were using him right, so they did trade a 4th for him. I think he can be exactly like Trey Lance, but the opposite, where we actually look back and be like, man, I'm glad we spent a 4th-round pick on that guy, because I think he can be that, especially in this type of offense. Only because what I saw last year, Cooper Rush, God bless his heart, man, Cooper Rush would miss him it was so many times. They have highlights of this where it was one in particular. He dusted this guy, dusted the DB. Safety saw it, was trying to catch up, wide open. Cooper Rush threw it way out of bounds over it. It was so bad. It should have been an easy touchdown. And he did that a lot throughout the season, where Mingo should have had pretty big numbers, but he didn't because Cooper Rush is really Lamar Jackson light. So that's why he went to the Ravens.
I think that was probably one of the bigger frustrating things last year. Between, like, you and I both were we was screaming during about Mingo. Like, let's just see something. Let's just see what he has.
At first, I was upset. I'm like, why is he have 3 catches in the last 4 games? And then you would look at him and be like, man, Cooper Rush is really like Cooper Rush was pretty good with Tolbert. All of Tolbert's good games came after Dak went out. Because, of course, a lot of times backup quarterbacks always have a good rapport with backup wide receivers because that's who they work out with. The first guy runs with the first wide receivers, and then the second guy runs with the second wide receivers. And so they build a kind of, like a sixth sense to where it's like, oh, if you see this guy do that, he's leaning on your back hip, you're gonna break left, and they notice because they practice, and so that's why
Romo and Witten were such best friends, because they were on the second team together for a long time.
And that's why Dak and Ferguson have that seam thing down pat, and it's like, and then of course Schoonmaker ended up being very good once Dak went out. But then of course Ferguson went out, but that's who Cooper Rush practices with. He practices with Schoonmaker. He practices with Tolbert. So when Dak went out, Tolbert's game picked up. Schoonmaker's game picked up. If Dak was
you would have
then it would have been crazy.
You would have thought that Rush would have been a little bit more. I mean, I know that Mingo was brand new, right? He hadn't been there the whole offseason. If he would have been there the whole offseason, they probably would have had some sort of connection, him and Rush.
Yeah,
because
he would have been down the line. Yeah. Yep.
I should have said Mingo because I mean, it is, if you think about it, our team has always done, where were you drafted? That's going to be your playing time. Where were you drafted? So if we spend a 4th round pick on this guy, the front office is going to try and get everything they can out of him. It's not like, do you remember the receiver that we picked up the year before last that hadn't played in a long time, and Martavius Bryant?
Yeah, that's it, from Pittsburgh.
Okay,
yeah.
So Bryant, it kind of seems like he upset a lot of people, a lot of fans, because a lot of fans were like, oh, you know what, we got this guy and he's a shell of who he really was. So everybody, I think a lot of people think that Mingo is Martavius Bryant, 2.0. Like, we just picked him up and we're trying to see. But I really think this guy is very, very talented. He just needs somebody to get him the fucking ball.
But Bryant was out of the league for whatever reason. I think he got suspended or he got in trouble, so he was out of the league for a while. And
I'm just saying
but Mingo's been playing all the time. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Well, Mingo also was hurt, and he was on the Panthers and not getting any balls thrown at him too. So it's
one thing the Cowboys love doing is picking up players who used to have a high draft pedigree, and they're like, people are out on them. Like, I mean, if you look at it, it was a graphic I saw where they picked up like Solomon Thomas, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders.
You're looking at that picture
Dante
of
Fowler,
2nd round draft picks. On
like all those people who were picked in the first or 2nd round, who Dallas picked up this free agent
8
period.
Of them. It was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, it was a lot of them. And it's like they like doing it. And Mingo was, you can add him to that list, but he was from last year. He was a 2nd round pick, and he was a high 2nd round pick. So it's like they love picking up players who had a high pedigree and for some reason didn't work out, and now they think that they can rehabilitate him. Which I love when they did it with Rolando McClain. That really worked out. And so I'm hoping one of these players, if I had to pick one of these players to turn into really turn that guy's career back around, it's either going to be Mingo or it's going to be Solomon Thomas. Those two are the 2 guys who I think can really, really, really turn it around to where it's like, yeah.
I think Thomas is at the end of his career. I think he's just coming to retire because he's a native. I mean, he lives in the Dallas area. I think that I think Dante Fowler is going to have a hell of a year.
He's a mercenary. When I call him a D-line mercenary, he just shows up and gets sacks.
I think that this last year, with him getting his the accolades and like his flowers, I think it's going to be a big difference, because he wasn't getting that with us. He was like that 3rd or 4th DN.
He sure wasn't. Yeah,
coming up. Right, and he still did really great things, but it just wasn't.
With the Lawrence gone, it's gonna he's gonna get some opportunities, because we only have what's the dude that was our gunner, Sam Williams, and then we have Marshawn Nealon. So those are 2 guys, opposite Parsons, of course, but we need another guy which they can put him in if they move Parsons around. So, and then Solomon Thomas is in there now. We still have Osa. Golston is gone.
What was I going to say?
We still have Motsy.
Because you brought this up, and we got to talk about it before we're done here, which I think is absolutely goddamn ridiculous if this happens. But if Jerry puts DeMarcus Lawrence in the Ring of Honor, I'm going to throw something.
Oh my God, man, he does not need.
I don't
to
know
be
what
in
he
the
was
Ring
saying
of Honor.
that for, but I'm like, hey, let him be in the Seattle Ring of Honor if he's going to win the Super Bowl.
I look at the Ring of Honor as like how they do the NFL Hall of Fame. Can you tell the story of the NFL without the guy that's going into the Hall of Fame? If you can't, then he needs to be in there. The same thing with the Ring of Honor. Can you tell the Dallas Cowboys story without mentioning this guy? And I think they can. Like you can't tell the Dallas Cowboys story without mentioning Romo, without mentioning Witten.
You put DeMarcus Ware in there before you put DeMarcus Lawrence. You know what I mean? And Ware was it? And Ware probably had the same stats as Lawrence did. I mean, it was.
And before we get into craziness, I'm a huge DeMarcus Lawrence fan. I was hoping he came back this year. So it's not like I'm trying to throw shade or I'm mad about the stuff he said going out the door. Forget that. I would if he was like, you know what, like if he was still a free agent, he's like, I'm gonna come back to Dallas, I'd be very happy because I think he was a very underrated player. But all that being said, he does not deserve to be in the Ring of Honor. Even though he was a really good player, he's one of my favorite players. I liked his fire. He does not need to be in the Ring of Honor, and that's just my 2 cents.
I like the outcome of some of the plays that he had in some of the games that were like goal line, like he would stop a runner on the goal line and shit like that, right? But you know, everything that was said afterwards, I mean, that was some ex-girlfriend bullshit. I mean, that was really
man, that's crazy. That was some petty going out the door stuff. But the one thing I did like about him was he won us the Detroit playoff game, then he lost it for us, and then he won it for us again because he got the fumble, he picked it up and tried to run, then he fumbled it, and they got the ball back. But then like a couple plays later, he got the sack again that ended the game. So it's like he almost became the GOAT. And that's all I remember about DeMarcus Lawrence. He was pretty good. And then when he told that kid who won the signature, who was wearing the Giants jersey, like, you got the wrong jersey on, bro. And then he just kept walking. I was like, yeah, man, go ahead. I like that. Anyway, we'll end it at that. All right. Hopefully by next week we'll have a signature. We'll be breaking down the Parsons contract to see how much he got. We'll be that much closer to the draft. Man, we got what 3 weeks?
23 days. 23 days.
And then we'll have draft people to break down. Eddie will let us know if this was a good draft or not.
We gotta do our annual
mock draft. You gotta get the software, man.
Yeah, we gotta do the
draft. Remember we did it last year. Yeah, we got this. So we'll do that not
in like 2 weeks.
Next week. Because I'll be out of town next week, so we got to do that at the end of next week. Because I'll be out of town till Thursday, so we'll probably do it Thursday night or Friday.
Sounds good to me.
We'll do it. But anyway, Eddie,
we'll figure it out.
Tell the people how you feel before we head on out.
You know, I'm always saying, don't go to bed angry. Make sure that you tell your loved ones that you love them because you might not get a chance to tell them again. But what I want to say today is you're fucking awesome. Remember that. Every single person that's listening to this is valuable and are part of something that can never be changed. I'm just telling you, man, there's a lot of people, everybody's. I saw something the other day where it said, my list is getting shorter by the day, right? As you grow older, your list of friends and colleagues and people that are important to you get shorter every month, every day. So don't waste the time, being sad about shit. Just get out and enjoy fucking life and tell people that you care about them. And stop holding grudges because we don't need that shit anymore.
Stop with all the petty stuff. Yeah, remember
Stop being petty, LaBelle. So now I'm off my soapbox. I'm off my soapbox.
Make sure y'all get those Easter baskets made and get ready for the draft. Do some research and don't fall for the clickbait. Just come to us and we'll tell you if it's the sky's falling or do you need to pay attention to this. Trust us. Believe in us. We know.
Trust.
And with that, y'all have a good one. And
Mhm.